I am Sherry Griffith, your virtual specialist for middle grades health and physical education. In this webinar series, we will be focusing on strategies for accommodating learners. The purpose of this webinar series is to help educators to accommodate learners' differences and needs while facilitating instruction to best reach each student. In this session, we will be focusing on organizing the instructional content to maximize teaching and learning experiences. Instructional content should be organized using effective strategies and resources to meet the individual student's needs and interests prior to teaching and learning. As an instructional planning strategy, consider what your students need in the preparation stages. Consider beginning at a blank slate and ask yourself, who are my learners? What real-world resources and what digital resources will help to differentiate instruction to meet the individual needs and interests and to engage my students? Also, should the content design be delivered as a week, a unit, or a topic? When organizing content, as the facilitator, you should determine the learning targets for the content being delivered. What are the skills and outcomes that you desire for students to acquire by the end of the week, unit, or topic you're planning for? Sharing these desired outcomes with your students is a strategy for promoting student accountability, engagement with the content, and helps to provide relevant learning experiences. The success criteria mirrors the learning targets. These are I can statements, or I will be able to statements. Together, learning targets and success criteria address the performance standards and help learners to demonstrate an understanding of what's expected of them by the end of the lesson or unit. Planning to provide learning targets and success criteria prior to learning should be consistent, promotes active student accountability for learning, and should be accessible to students whether they are learning in a face-to-face environment or a remote learning environment. When organizing the instructional content, consider your learners' individual interests and needs. This helps you to accommodate the learners and to design the learning targets and success criteria based on maximizing the allotted time and resources for learners to acquire the knowledge and skills being facilitated while accommodating all learners' needs. After designing the learning targets and success criteria, organize the content of your three-part lesson in a manner which accommodates your learners' needs and interests in a way that is geared toward meeting the learning targets you designed. Your opening should be engaging and mentally prepare students for acquiring the skills and knowledge in the upcoming learning experience. It can also provide an opportunity to introduce the lesson, summarize a previous lesson, clarify misconceptions, and allow for observing how learners can further be accommodated. It can also provide a structured student-centered allotted time for housekeeping, such as attendance being taken or receiving students who are transitioning between classes. Remember, your learners' needs must also be met and planned for even during the pre-instructional activity time. Instructional content should be standards-based, engaging, and student-centered throughout the entirety of the three-part lesson while meeting the needs of every individual learner simultaneously. While organizing the content of your three-part lesson, the facilitator must consider that all learners' needs are special and must be accommodated. Incorporate opportunities for students to communicate and collaborate. Provide content that is accessible and attractive to all learners for different learning styles and different levels of learners. Plan wisely by managing your allotted time. Your three-part lesson should incorporate everything the learners need to be successful. Make clear what is expected of the learner to be successful throughout the lesson. Provide clear directions, a checklist, a scoring tool, directions of how to turn in completed work, and provide an example or work sample that meets the expectations of a finished product. Organizing the content to accommodate all learners in the planning stages helps you to provide accessibility to everything all learners need to be successful. How to turn in student work and how students are to be graded can be this simple. In this physical education assignment, the organized content is designed for a virtual learning activity and provides all parts of the standards-based student-centered three-part lesson, very similar to the available stations activities while face-to-face. In my gym classroom, there's a whiteboard on the front and back walls where students can find their standards, learning targets, and success criteria prior to the lesson. Similarly, in the virtual setting, the whole group receives directions in a Microsoft Teams meeting and moves independently to complete tasks. By clicking the picture of the standards, learning target, and success criteria, students can explore and elaborate upon context that has been highlighted to meet the needs of learners. It can open up to a full screen based on the learner's needs. Students understand that they are expected to pivot, jump, and run, and demonstrate a variety of throwing motions. Students evaluate their own capacity to be physically active at home while exploring ways to combine movements, change speed and direction, practice striking and throwing, and evaluate their ability to do so. Students have a to-do list in the beginning of the assignment and can move through the activity by pushing buttons, or by moving from slide to slide. The content is organized so that students know what is expected of them, how to turn in their assignment, and when it is due before they begin working independently. Throughout the assignment, a button is available to return back to the beginning of the assignment if needed. In each activity, the content is organized to accommodate learners' interests and needs. Students can practice striking with their feet. Students can practice running, changing speed and directions. Students can practice pivoting and demonstrating control while using a variety of throwing motions. Students can practice combining movements. Students are provided with extra choices to accommodate their individual interests and needs. And in the end of the assignment, learners can review a checklist to make certain that they have completed all tasks and to receive the link to turn in the assignment that is due at the end of class. A student-centered, standards-based learning environment can be planned for more conveniently when students are used to having technological devices available to them, and content is organized for them to accommodate and promote equity for all learners in the learning environment. It may seem like a lot, but making it your routine to organize instructional content to accommodate all learners is a setup for successful teaching and learning. Please visit the Georgia Department of Education community website at community.gadoe.org for more helpful tips to collaborate, connect, share thoughts, or resources for teachers and administrators. Thank you for viewing, and we hope you enjoyed our webinar.